Allen going deep, picked off. Interception, and guess who? Nate Ritchie with the interception and still on his feet. Nate Ritchie turns it into magic. Touchdown, Lone Peak.
Welcome in Deseret News Rewind, our game of the week recap brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard.
That's right, Dusty. And hey, a lot of people want to make their life better, but not quite certain how to do it. Check out www.nationalguard.com. Find out how you can earn up to $20,000 in educational assistance from the Utah Army National Guard and take that next step. Make your life that little bit better. A great place to learn on-the-job training skills, develop leadership capabilities. Again, that website, www.nationalguard.com.
All right, Dane, you were here, Lone Peak and Timpview. This was an old region rivalry.
Yeah.
These are two of the top teams in the state of Utah. The reigning 6A champion Lone Peak Knights looked very, very good offensively and defensively, played pretty well in this one to get the win.
Well, I thought defensively they looked really, really solid. Nate Ritchie did what Nate Ritchie does. That's PATs, punts, fielding kicks, playing defense, and even caught a touchdown. Speaking of catching touchdowns, Trajan Hansen, a couple really athletic grabs, a long touchdown reception. We had a chance to talk with both Trajan and Nate. Let's start with Trajan Hansen, and one of the returning contributors from last year's state championship team. Boy, you had a big game week one, had a long touchdown in the, I think the second quarter for Lone Peak, ended up over 200 yards receiving. Talk about the offense and what you felt like, how it was last night, breaking in a new quarterback in Nealman, and the progress you guys still have to make on the offensive side for Lone Peak.
I felt like last night our offense did pretty well, and J.D. Nealman, he really stepped up, and I think he's going to be really good for us this year. We have a lot of good playmakers, and we have those big guys up front that make their blocks. So I have a lot of trust in this team and think this offense will be good this season.
Talk about playmakers. You had a number of catches where you're able to go up in the air last night and win them. Talk about, as a player, what do you think your strengths are on the outside for Lone Peak?
I definitely think one of my strengths is getting those jump balls and being a bigger receiver, being physical on the outside.
You know, there are playmakers, and then there's Nate Ritchie. I mean, my heavens. Is there any, have you gone to Coach Brockbank and said, hey, I got to run the ball, I got to catch the ball, I intercept the ball, I kick the ball. Why don't you get to throw the ball?
I don't know. I usually just stick to defense because that's most of what I'm good at. But whenever Coach needs me, I'm always there.
It's not about what it is. You're even innate ability. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's kick returns or anything else, we were able to make plays. I mean, most of us have dreams where we try to make plays and we can't quite get to the ball. But you do. You always get there. You talk about that. You had the interception. You sealed the game last night. Walk us through that play, what you saw and what happened.
So I was just lining up in a regular coverage or trips to the right coverage, and then I just saw the tight end go to corner. Just stayed with them, saw the ball, picked it off. I was going to try and go up the sideline, but didn't see anything. So then I cut back to go to the middle. Couldn't see anything there. Then I cut it back, and then I just saw a lane right up the middle, so I took it. And, yeah, just scored a touchdown.
Go ahead, Dane.
Trajan, defending state champs. How has this team responded to that? Have you guys felt that pressure of having to defend? I mean, I know it's just week one, but talk about the mindset of this team and what it's been like just through the first week of the year, having to deal with that pressure of Lone Peak, your 6A state champs.
I think we've been pretty well. We're just staying humble, grinding. We got to work for what we get. We're not going to have anything given to us this year, so we got to go take it.
You know, Nate, you were obviously both you major contributors last year. I know some of that watershed moment that changed your season was the loss against American Fork, the players-only meeting and the talks. How do you carry over that chemistry, or at least try to recapture that? Or do you try to say, hey, you know what, this is a new team. What do? You got to get your handle back on this team to where you can go out and get things done and defend the 6A title.
I think the biggest part from last year's team to this year's team is we've been coming more together as a team early. Last year's team, we were kind of selfish at the beginning of the year, and then the AF game came, and we just kind of were like, all right, we got to play together now. Like, if we want to accomplish our goal, we got to play together. But I think this year is a little different because we are playing with each other. Like, we played with each other all growing up and stuff. So, like, I feel like we're just already better friends and better teammates together. So.
Well, an impressive week one, a tough schedule coming up. Congratulations, guys, on a terrific start to your year, and we'll be looking forward to watching you guys.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you.
second year for Coach Bart Brockbank. He's been here for a while as offensive coordinator and done a great job at building. He is building a culture here, but that's got to turn the page and stop talking about 2018. All right, here with Coach Brockbank here on Deseret News Rewind. Coach, you're able to turn the page. I mean, I don't think you get tired of talking about the state championship, but how good does it feel to actually start the season and maybe not have to talk about last year so much?
It's good. It's good to start talking about this season. It's good to get back into football. It's enjoyable, to remember what we did, but it's also exciting to get going this year.
Talk about what it's like for you to replace some of your key leaders. You have a lot of returning contributors and a lot of returning starters, but Siri graduated, Mason Wake graduates, Freeman, multi-year guys. What has it been like to try to find replacements for some of that leadership in your locker room?
Yeah, it is good to have guys coming back. We on offense, we got a couple leaders that came back, but it's also really difficult to replace the type of leadership you get from a Daly or a Wake or a Freeman or Siri. But we got Nate back on defense, Fotu back on defense, Nita back on defense that really helped with that. On offense, you look to your quarterback to be your leader. So this year we've had, our receivers were our two big returners, and so they've kind of had to step up. And Trey doesn't talk a lot; he's really quiet. Sean, on the other hand, he talks a lot, so he gets him up. But JD's got to step into that role for us to be successful offensively this year.
You get to start the year against Timpview, and man, that was a team that came on last year. They struggled out of the gate. Coach Stokes got them going. That was a stiff test. How good was it for you to see, hey, we got a great test to start the year. What did you learn about your team? You're the offensive coordinator. What did you learn about your offense going into defenses that's multiple and gets after you?
Yeah, so overall as a team, what I learned is that we're willing to gut it out when we need to, and we're willing to do what it takes. It's only one game, but that's something I didn't see early in the season last year, except for during our Las Vegas game where I felt like we did do that. But then, as later in the season, when we came together as a team, we did what it took. We didn't care who got the credit and how it was. And I felt like that was last night. And then offensively, I feel like we were below average compared to where I think we should be. We made a lot of misreads, I would say, some overthrows, some stuff that I want our receivers to get up and get. But overall, I feel like, the offensive line performed pretty good. And we just need to be better at, as I was talking earlier, we need to be better executing inside the red zone. Between the 20s, I felt like we dominated them last night. And that's a really good defense. They got a lot of great players and very well coached. And so our issue was getting in the end zone.
So, not to go back on the negatives, but you have drive. You talk about that. Nealman throws the pick six to Demooney. Mm-hmm. But you learn a lot about your team. Because maybe you're going to say you fall back, but maybe early in the year, that Skyridge game comes to mind, opportunities lost. Is that a moment you look back and say, hey, this is a negative, but here's the positive. We were able to bounce back and get 10 points after that.
Yeah. As a coach, you're always upset with stuff like that, especially when, I don't feel like he, I haven't seen the film yet or anything, but pulling the ball, I'm not sure he should have. But as soon as it happened, early in the season, especially in the preseason, you always want to win, but you want to see what you're made of. And for me at that moment, our biggest thing as coaches, we wanted to see how we were going to respond. And I felt like we came out and responded, and a lot of that has to do with our leadership on our defense. Those guys just grind and grind and grind, and it helps to have a Nate Ritchie.
You talk about your defense and the grind and grind and grind. I mean, Timpview, long ball to Demooney, they're first and goal, and if it's not for a penalty, you guys hold them to 3 and out on the 1 yard line. Talk about what your defense showed last night. Obviously the Ritchie pick, but your defense was flying all over.
Yeah. Defense is super stout, especially inside the red zone. They're very difficult to score on. Similar to, Timpview, they get real stout down there. They're big. What we hold them 7 plays out of the end zone. That was on the 7th or 8th play they got in the end zone. That's impressive. I mean, you have a hard time getting upset with your defense when they do something like, 7 plays. I was a little questionable on the call, but, and the kids were upset over that. And I like how they responded rather than getting upset and putting their heads down. They got in and dug deep because you can't control the refs. And we always talk about don't let the refs, determine the outcome of the game. We go out and play. And I thought I was happy with that. Even though they scored, I was very happy with how the next 3 plays went, even though they ended up scoring.
Coach, one of the big changes this year, you're in a tough region. That's just the life of Region 4. But the RPI system, you only control what you can control. But how different is that for you, or does it change anything for you?
Well, for us, I'm indifferent on it right now. I just don't know how it's going to work. I think what it does for us is it eliminates our desire to maybe play a low RPI team in a preseason. In the region, you don't get a choice, but in the preseason, you wonder what the benefit would be, or it could hurt you more. And so that's the question going forward that I'll have. We like to have a really rough preseason. We have a really rough season. We feel like that prepares us for the playoffs better. That's just our philosophy as coaches, so that's how we go about doing it.
Biggest keys for you on this team this year of not having to harken back to last year, but as you see this team moving forward, what are some of the, I guess, milestones you're looking to hit throughout the year where you can feel like this team is their own?
Well, I think we have to find our identity on offense, and that's gonna rest heavily on JD, and he's gonna have to figure out how to step up and kind of be a little. He's a quiet kid. He's a confident kid, but he's not, like some of the guys in the past, like Dakota Hansen and Talmadge and those guys, they're very vocal leaders on the field. And so JD's got to step up and get out of his comfort zone and be vocal and find our identity on offense. We're primarily a pass first, run second, but we got to find that identity and be who we are. So
I'm not looking forward too far ahead, but we don't know when we'll get to talk to you again. You got a big game coming up, and the first time since 2015, Bishop Gorman is going to come to Utah. And this is a team that won 3 national championships back to back to back. They are stacked full of Division I team talent. It's what happens. Talk about how you got that game and what that's going to mean for Olympic. You beat Liberty. That's the number 2 team in Las Vegas or in Nevada last year. Now you get the big dog, the team that's won 8 state championships out of there. Yeah. But how did that game come about, and what is that going to mean for your program?
Well, we've been back and forth. They invited us down to a 7-on-7 last year, and so their coach has been reaching out, trying to set something up, get us to come down to some of their 7-on-7s, and then we started talking, and we said, hey, let's get a home and home together, and due to the fact that we'd already committed to an out-of-state game, our conference or our school district only lets us go out once. I said they had to come there this year, and their coach was really good about saying, yeah, we'll come up, and so we've just been back and forth. It was tough because they go to Hawaii the week before, and so they don't want to miss a lot of school, so we had to play it on a Saturday, so it was a little bit of scheduling. But yeah, we're excited to play them. We're excited for the challenge. We're excited to show Utah football to the out-of-state teams. That's one of our goals, is we want to expand Utah football, and the way you do that is you play some out-of-state teams and get some good coverage.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, congratulations on the week 1 win. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Coach Brockbank, we've talked about off camera. We're talking about one of the great guys.
Yeah.
Terrific guy, and it was fun to watch where this team's going. The ceiling is very, very high for this Olympic team. Amazing to say, being a reigning state champion, but it is hard to defend this championship. We talk about it all the time. The team that won the most state championships in the run from 2005 to now is Timpview. But the team that's talked about being the best team in the state is Bingham.
Yeah.
And they haven't won the championship as much as Timpview did, but when you're in top classification, it is hard.
It is hard. And, talking with Coach Brockbank, it was funny. He said, yeah, we don't get to play Bingham anymore, and I missed that game. It was a great measuring stick, but we replaced them with Corner Canyon and Sky Ridge. And you look at this schedule. I mean, you could say their easiest game on the schedule is going to be next week dealing with Jordan. That's a team that was in our top 25. I mean, for crying out loud, this is a tough week-to-week schedule for Lone Peak. The thing that I think speaks a lot about where this program is and where Coach Brockbank wants it to go. J.D. Nealman started, I think, 3 games for them last year. His first game of the year last night. Broke the school record for single-season passing yards with 423.
Single game, yeah.
Single game, thank you, single game. And Coach Brockbank said, yeah, I think our offense was below average. Wait, what? Below average, and you set a school record. Hey, I'd love to see average.
Yeah,
going to be throwing 550 out here.
My thing is, you take a negative and turn it into a positive. I asked him about the pick six Raider to Mooney. Early in the year, when you're trying to all the things you want, you get deflated. No, they put their head right back down and they got the job done. And to me, that speaks volumes about what this team's going to be.
It is, and the scary thing is this team is really built. You talk about Coach Brockbank and the offense, but it's the defense.
Yeah, Ryan Denny does a great
job. All
job.
Over the place last night, and that's without Jared Fotu, and he's going to be back. I mean, this is going to be a defense that you're going to have to get ready for. It's what we thought. It's why we gave them the slight edge over Corner Canyon. Watch out, folks, because Lone Peak this year, they're going to be coming. It's going to be tough to deal with the Knights.
Well, look out every week where we have our Deseret News Rewind Game of the Week. We'll also do our videos, interview the coaches and players from there as well. For Vince Francis and Dane Stewart, I'm Dusty Litster. Thanks for joining us and watching Deseret News Rewind, brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard.